Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Candace Owens, the gift that keeps on kicking its own behind. As everybody knows, she works at a right-wing crap hole, and many of the people she works with are Zionists, like Ben Shapiro, or as we call him around these parts, BS. Dennis Prager is also a Zionist, as is David Horowitz. Now, these are so-called free speech warriors. They constantly tell people that they're standing up for the right to say whatever you wish because that's the American way. And they're tired of people being attacked merely for having an opinion, and people need to be free thinkers, and that's what they represent. We're about free thinking around here, not groupthink. Well, Candace Owens has had a couple of pointed remarks about Israel, albeit obliquely, and these little snowflakes, their pinheads have exploded. Rather than thank her for having the courage to speak her own mind, even though she's surrounded by people she knows don't like it, instead they've attacked her and canceled her. No less than BS himself told her that she can leave Daily Wire if she doesn't like the way things are there. And now another putrid racist, David Horowitz, has also come out attacking Owens. David Horowitz has been a long-time anti-black racist. Just like Ed Blum, Horowitz has been on a jihad to demonize and attack black people since at least the 1990s, on everything from education to employment to the right to live. These are genocidal racists we're talking about here. They don't have anyone around who disagrees with them. You want to be in their orbit, you better just nod your head and agree with whatever gibberish they spout. The white media claims that David Horowitz and his so-called Freedom Center were the group who gave Candace Owens her start in the right-wing hate speech industry. But now that she's exercised her right to free speech and shown herself to be a free thinker, they're purging her. Now, up until this month, they previously gave Candace Owens high praise as being one of the right-wing's brightest minds. Now they're saying Candace Owens has become obsessed with her own fame, stirring up drama to compensate for a lack of real achievements. Lack of real achievements? That's what David Horowitz is saying about her now. You know, he let her be mobbed up with his organization since at least 2016. So when did Horowitz realize that she hadn't made any real achievements? Was it when David Horowitz himself and his so-called Freedom Center presented Candace with their Annie Taylor Award for Courage back in 2018? Was that when he realized she hadn't made any real achievements, when he was giving her an award? And indeed, an award for courage? How much courage does it take to tell the people who pay you and help bring you to prominence what they want to hear? Because that's all she's ever done. Is it courageous to just mindlessly regurgitate David Horowitz's racist talking points? Do you have to be brave to have speaking engagements for right-wing groups? Well, maybe it does take courage for a black person to stand in front of a room full of card-carrying white supremacists. Front pages of the website for David Horowitz's newsletter, and the headline that they gave to their 2018 awards ceremony for Candace Owens described her and Charlie Kirk as two titans who have changed politics forever. They went on to laud her in the piece as reaching black America with a conservative message in ways never before seen. Gee, if someone has changed politics forever and reached black America with a message in ways never before seen and was given a so-called award by David Horowitz himself, why is it that today that same David Horowitz who gave her that award and all that praise is now saying she doesn't have any real accomplishments? Perhaps that's because he knows the so-called award that he gave her is worthless and doesn't represent any real accomplishment. Perhaps because Horowitz knows the praise that he and the rest of the white right gave her wasn't because she's doing anything meaningful, but because she's their shill. Now, either they were lying yesterday when they said Owens didn't have any real accomplishments, or they were lying 5 years ago when they said that she did. Which one is it? Because both those statements can't be true. In his condemnation of Owens, Horowitz and his racist pals also said that she has made hateful remarks about the Jews. That's an accusation of anti-Semitism, even if they didn't use the word. Now, first of all, what I want to know is, what did Candace Owens say that wasn't true? Is genocide defensible? She said that it's not, but apparently BS and David Horowitz think that it is. When does she even mention Israel? Or the Jews? She didn't. So how can she be making ignorant, hateful, and morally obtuse remarks about Israel and the Jews when she never mentioned Israel or the Jews? She went out of her way to avoid doing so. So why is it that just because she said something they disagree with, they immediately jump to the worst possible interpretation of what she said? And make no mistake, it is an interpretation because Owens never mentioned Israel or Jews. So in order to read anti-Semitism into her comments, David Horowitz would have to infer things she didn't actually say. So now we know what the white right considers to be the limits of free speech. Anything they disagree with. But it couldn't have happened to a nicer bootlick. Candace Owens has been the black friend of a number of white supremacist outlets from Daily Wire to PragerU, and all of them have said that free speech is under attack. People don't like what you say and they try to cancel you. It's a violation of your free speech, the white right says. People are snowflakes today because they can't handle an opinion that they don't like. And what are these opinions that the Ben Shapiros and the Dennis Pragers think is so important? Mostly anti-black talking points claiming slavery wasn't so bad because, well, reasons. And black people commit all the crimes in America, so anyone who the police kill was a criminal, including the people who weren't criminals. Ben Shapiro, BS, defended the murder of George Floyd. He continued to lie about Floyd's murder, claiming that it was a drug overdose, even after the medical examiner's report came out documenting that it wasn't. So these scumbags have defended murdering black people, and they claim no one should have the right to object to it or even call them out on it, because free speech means only they get to speak. One thing you never hear from the BSs, the Horowitzes, or the Pragers, or any of the right-wing toilets is how they defend speech that offends them. That's something you never hear them say. The white right has made a cottage industry out of phony white outrage and grievance, pretending that they're offended by things that weren't offensive at all. This society caters to them to such an obscene degree that they have to pretend to be offended by things, but once they identify something they don't like, you never hear them say that so-and-so has the right to say it, and that right must be sacrosanct because freedom of speech. No, instead you hear them saying the person is anti-American, anti-white, a communist, anti-Semitic, whatever. The white right has let everyone know that freedom of speech only applies to them, and that what they want the freedom to say is that black people deserve to be killed, and all of the other putrid racism that they want. They've been desperately trying and failing to relabel their blatant hate speech as merely pushing the boundaries, avoiding groupthink, and being a free thinker. And that when people call someone a racist or a bigot simply for disagreeing with them or voicing a viewpoint they don't like, that just proves that their own position is too weak to take any scrutiny. Candace Owens has been one of their favorite mouthpieces, loud, proud, and wrong. This woman doesn't have the sense that God gave a cantaloupe, but the white right like having her around, or at least they used to, because she's one of the few black people they could find who was willing to spout their gibberish. And they praised her as being so intelligent and so principled and so intelligent. Did I mention they said that she was supposed to be intelligent? Her rantings are more stupid than Ron DeSantis on a debate stage, but the conservative movement is the home office for the low IQ crowd. She's been the rhetorical equivalent of their black friend. She's about the only melanated person they can stand to have around. As a result of being the willing sock puppet for these racists, she's made a little bit of money for herself. She's been part of the right-wing grift, and they put her on Fox News, and she's had a few speaking engagements, so the grift has been good to her. But recently, she's been saying things that her paymasters haven't liked, and because of that, she went from being smart to being not so smart at all, as Ben Shapiro put it, faux sophistication. Faux sophistication indeed. Coming from a mental midget like Ben Shapiro, that's a laugh. And David Horowitz saying she has no real accomplishments. Now, my question for the white right, who have been telling us for decades that defending the murders of black people is merely free speech, I want to know, why aren't they embracing Candace Owens for pushing the boundaries of public discourse and praising her for not falling into lockstep with right-wing groupthink? The white right always talks about how America doesn't need a diversity of ethnicities, doesn't need a diversity of race. What it needs is a diversity of opinions. Okay, well, here's Candace Owens giving an opinion that isn't part of the right-wing groupthink. And they are now attacking her and canceling her, calling her anti-Semitic, calling her all of these names. Now, how can firing people or ostracizing them for saying something on a college campus, or when a company fires someone in response to public outrage, be bad, but it becomes good when BS does it? Why is it right when David Horowitz does it? He gave her a courage award, but she makes a couple of oblique references to the Israeli military's actions, and Horowitz's pinhead explodes. Not much courage from him, I see. You know who this reminds me of? Another empty-headed bimbo who shills for the white right? Tommy Lauren. She got dunked by Glenn Beck's little propaganda mill when she made the mistake of speaking in favor of abortion. She didn't support Hillary Clinton or even Black Lives Matters. She simply disagreed with them on abortion, and their response? Purge her, cancel her, kick her out. Whatever happened to free speech? Whatever happened to right-wingers claiming that they tolerate different viewpoints? Isn't that one of their favorite lies? Yeah, they want a diversity of opinions as long as your opinion is the same as theirs. Now, for the slow folks who try to troll me, Candace Owens doesn't get any of our sympathy. There's no good guys here. But it is interesting to see the white right's phony free speech rhetoric being tested. When someone in their own organization challenges them and says something they don't like, they don't accept it, and they don't say she's entitled to her own opinion, and they don't defend her speech and say, well, we gotta have a thicker skin than that. We gotta be willing to tolerate opinions and viewpoints that we don't necessarily agree with. Instead, they're calling her every name in the book. They're dumping her, they're distancing themselves from her, they're saying, get her the hell out of here. They're canceling her. You see what they're doing. And by the way, where are the other right-wing nuts to come to her aid? Where's the Mark Dices and other assorted trash to say that they have to stand up for free speech? And that what Horowitz and BS are doing to her is wrong because nobody has the right to cancel her. That violates their conservative principles. Well, we're seeing exactly what their principles are now because none of them are speaking up for her. For the white right, free speech means being blatantly, openly racist towards black people, full stop. Now, one of the guys over at the Daily Wire is saying that so long as Candace doesn't say anything that breaks the law, her job is secure, though he also made sure to say that so long as she doesn't say anything that violates the terms of her contract, her job is secure. Now, as we all know, when it comes to contracts, people can pretty much interpret them any way that they want, and you have to hash it out in court as to see whose viewpoint prevails, so this leaves plenty of room for them to can her and claim it was because she violated her contract. I think the Daily Wire is hoping that Owens will take a hint and stop antagonizing BS and his pals for the time being, but I think that they're going to fire her before it's all over. They're just giving it a little bit of time so they can claim, oh, it wasn't directly in response to her Twitter tweets. And why not? Omarosa thought that Trump loved her stinking drawers and that Trump was going to keep her around as his favorite pet, but he kicked her out of the White House first chance he got. Diamond and Silk thought the same thing too. The bootlicks are always the last ones to figure out that they've been had. White supremacy has no permanent plans for any of its tools, be they on the left or the right. They all get shown the door sooner or later. Usually they get humiliated like Larry Elders and Michael Steele, though in some cases they get sent out feet first like Herman Cain. Now, it's not completely clear why Candace Owens is choosing to run afoul of the people who she depends on for her money. These guys dump her, she's not going to be able to pop up on white media cable. MSNBC already has its quota of token Negroes, so does CNN and Fox News. And while her spat with the white right over Israel is noteworthy, don't be silly and think they wouldn't have been at each other's throats sooner or later. Make no mistake, if it wasn't this, it would have been something else. If Candace Owens really wanted to make a statement, she should confess to the racist lies that she's been telling for so long. Confess to the anti-black racism that she's helped to signal boost and to justify and run interference for these white supremacists. Confess to how she politically whored herself out for a couple of dollars and a few awards from people who didn't even respect her. Admit that she was not and has never helped the black community, she's only helped herself. But we already know Candace Owens doesn't have the kind of integrity that a move like that would require. You see, criticizing Israel may take nerve, but to denounce the racist who she's been palling around with and to actually confess to the mountain of sins she's committed all these years, well, that would actually take courage. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Sherman Marshall, Rochelle Rollins, James Brown, Fresner Peralt, and Kenneth Prescia. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.